Well, hello, all of my students. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Jay, and welcome to another English lesson here on the channel where I have the opportunity to help you with your English comprehension, vocabulary, and your English fluency. Today, I have a C-3 English through story lesson. Now, if you want some of my shadowing and read and repeat lessons, as well as some of my other lessons, be sure to check out the links in the description. Today, I will read through today's fun story that I put together, and I will go over the key vocabulary, words, and phrases. And at the end of today's story, I will have a quick quiz question or two, actually three, to test your comprehension of today's lesson. If you want today's PDF notes, be sure to join the Patreon down in the description. Show your support and you'll get the notes from today. So with that being said, I hope you're ready for a little bit of learning and laughter. Let's dive into today's story. A small town small town community rallied to help an elderly widow named Miss Eleanor after local gang members had vandalized her home with graffiti and broken a window during a fight. Okay, so when people rally together, notice the small community rallied together. So people that see something that is harmful or something that is wrong or something that concerns a great number of people or even a small number of people, we call that coming together to solve a problem, or people rallying together. Okay, we rally, we come together. Now, an elderly widow, an elderly, for those who don't know, someone that is mature in age or older in age, and a widow is someone whose spouse has died. Now, notice the community rallied together to help her home that had been vandalized by graffiti. Vandalized. Vandalism took place. Her house was vandalized. Okay, so it was destroyed in some type of way. Here, graffiti is when people paint on someone's property. There are certain cities in the United States that are known for graffiti on the walls of buildings, trains, such as New York, Chicago, and even in small towns, you'll have graffiti. I know here outside of Atlanta, you can see on the signs on the expressway, you can see graffiti on the signs. And usually people use spray paint to write or to draw pictures, which we call graffiti. Okay, let's continue. People from the neighborhood showed up with paint, tools, and a lot of heart to restore her home. So they showed up with paint, tools, and a lot of heart. A lot of heart. So we know what paint is. Oils with color. Tools, a hammer, paintbrushes, screwdrivers, a ladder. A lot of heart. So people showed up with generosity. Okay. Courage. Love. So you might use that in a sentence by saying, it took a lot of heart for you to do the right thing. Or sometimes we say, I can tell you have a big heart by the effort that you demonstrated. Okay. Now to restore. Notice the community restored her home. They made it like new, put it together again, to restore. So you might say or hear people say, you know what, I have an old car, but I'm thinking about restoring it. Okay, so I'm thinking about making it look new, making it look better. It's an older car. It's from the 1960s, but it's been restored. Okay, or someone might say, I got a pair of shoes that's old, but I'm going to clean them up and restore them. Okay, make fresh, make new. To everyone's surprise, two of the gang members who had caused the damage appeared at the cleanup to help and apologize. Ah, you like that little twist in my story. Two of the gang members, or to everyone's surprise, two of the gang members who caused the damage appeared at the cleanup to help and apologize. So notice earlier in the story, we said they rallied together to do something. Here it's described as the cleanup. So both are synonymous or the same. They rallied together to restore her home, which means to clean it up. Okay. And of course, to apologize means to say that you're sorry, to ask someone for forgiveness. Can you show me some grace, some mercy? I was wrong. Let's see where this story goes. These tough-looking boys, tough-looking. So someone that's tough-looking, they look mean or they look strong. They look like if you were to fight them, they could do some damage. Okay. They were tough looking, maybe needed a haircut, maybe a little dirty. Maybe they looked like they'd been to the gym. They were tough looking. These tough looking boys explained that they were raised to respect their elders and wanted to make things right. Gang members with a conscience. Okay, they'll fight each other, but we'll respect our elders. Now, I don't know how you feel about it. I think that's commendable. You know, these kids may be rough around the edges or have some flaws or they're not perfect. But somewhere along the line, they were taught to show reverence or respect to their elders. Now, notice I said they wanted to make things right. Okay. They wanted to fix what they messed up. Okay. Miss Eleanor, with a warm smile, thanked the boys and invited them into her home for a meal. Now, the people showed up with a lot of heart, but Miss Eleanor has a lot of heart. Would you invite two gang members into your home and feed them? She's showing love to members of her community, and some people may even call them her enemies. But she smiled, thanked them for showing respect, and said, why don't you come on in, boys, for a meal? Let's continue and see where this goes. As they ate, she spoke to them about the dangers of gang life and encouraged them to turn their lives around. Go ahead, Miss Eleanor, trying to make a difference in your community. I love it. Instead of watching them destroy themselves, she gave them some wisdom or good advice. Hey, why don't you turn your life around? Why don't you do something better, more constructive? You know, all it takes is one person to show a young person that they care, that they love them, that they can do better. That's all it takes. One person with a lot of heart or courage. Wow. Let's see where this story goes. As we continue, she told them about her church and invited them to come with her Sunday. To invite. So she extended an invitation. You know, when I was coming up, most elderly people, men or women, when they would try to help young people, they would try to give them some advice. And it's customary, especially in the South, which they call the Bible Belt. You would see Southern people, they would always invite someone to church. That's a custom here in the South among many people, especially with wayward kids or teenagers that were unruly or headed down a wrong path. They would encourage us to do better and say, hey, why don't you come to church with me on Sunday? And so this right here is something that you see often taking place in the South. Let's see what happens. The boys, feeling touched by her kindness, listened carefully to every word she said. The boys feeling touched. Now, you can physically touch someone, like touch my head or touch my cheeks or touch my chin. But when someone feels touched, it describes someone as being affected by someone else. Okay, so you might say, you know what, the card that you gave me for my birthday really touched me. Or you might say, when she was in the hospital, the only person that called and checked on her was her friend, Susan, and she was touched by her thoughtfulness. So you're affected by someone else. Okay, let's see how this ends. One of the boys, named Scotty, felt especially moved and decided to accept her invitation. So Scotty not only listened to Miss Eleanor, but notice he was moved. So he put into action something that she said. She motivated him. She inspired him. She positively affected him. And so he accepted her invitation or invite. Like I said, all it takes is one person to say something or do something to change your life for the better or for the worse. That Sunday, Scotty returned to Miss Eleanor's house and proudly walked her to church, ready to make a change in his life. Proudly walked her to church. Could you imagine Scotty walking her to church with his arm extended or holding her hand or them laughing and smiling? You know, this story reminds me when I was a child, my grandmother, she lived one block from her church and we would walk to church together. And I remember even walking back after church, leaving her to walk back with my sister. So this story has so much meaning to me. I've had people change my life by saying certain things, doing certain things, and I hope it has moved or touched you as well. Okay, let's read through today's story at a faster pace, and then I'm going to test your comprehension by asking you a few questions from today's story. So let's read through the story at a faster pace without stopping. Let's dive back in. A small town community rallied to help an elderly widow named Miss Eleanor after local gang members had vandalized her home with graffiti and broken a window during a fight. People from the neighborhood showed up with paint, tools, and a lot of heart to restore her home. To everyone's surprise, two of the gang members who had caused the damage appeared at the cleanup to help and apologize. These tough-looking boys explained that they were raised to respect their elders and wanted to make things right. Miss Eleanor, with a warm smile, thanked the boys and invited them into her home for a meal. As they ate, she spoke to them about the dangers of gang life and encouraged them to turn their lives around. She told them about her church and invited them to come with her on Sunday. The boys, feeling touched by her kindness, listened carefully to every word she said. One of the boys, named Scotty, felt especially moved and decided to accept her invitation. That Sunday, Scotty returned to Miss Eleanor's house and proudly walked her to church, ready to make a change in his life. Awesome story if I must say so myself. Okay, here's a few quiz questions I want you to answer in the comments section. Number 1, what does vandalize mean? What does vandalize mean? Did you vandalize anybody's property when you were young? I must admit, I did. There was a vacant home in one of the neighborhoods I grew up in. And I went along with the other kids and we went in there and we punched holes in the wall and man, we caused some damage to that house. And I'll never forget when the police detectives came to our home to ask me what happened and was I involved. Woo, I remember that day. And thankfully, my parents were with me, both my father and my mother, as we sat down with the detectives. And I admitted I was there. And I was just with the group of guys. And thankfully, they were gracious and did not arrest me, give me a ticket. But they said, look, I can tell you have a loving home. Don't do it again. And guess what? I did not. So, wow, I vandalized something when I was young. But it wasn't as serious as some people have done before. Number 2. What is an invitation? I explained that in the story. What is an invitation? And number 3, what does apologize mean? What does apologize mean? Now, I made these a little simple today. I noticed that for the past few weeks, I haven't had that many people answer some of the quiz questions. So that lets me know one of two things. Either you're not watching to the end or the quiz questions are a little difficult. So I made them simple. I believe you can answer these 3. I want you to give it a try. Okay. Now, if you want to get my notes for today's lesson, this story where you can read it, watch this again and study, make sure you join the Patreon the link is down in the comments section, okay? Take advantage of that. Show your support. Become a Patreon. And I have some other things that I do, like do videos and lessons that I don't put on YouTube. So I hope you choose to take advantage of that, okay? With that being said, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope today's lesson has helped you in some type of way. If it has, be sure to share today's lesson with a friend, and don't forget to check out my other channel, Parlay with Jay. That link is also in the description, and it will definitely be a help to you as I have stories that I read and write and put on that channel to help your listening skills. Well, with that being said, again, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you join me on my next English lesson.